All righty. Okay. I think everybody can see my hands. Hopefully, this is good.
Yep.
Is that good? Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I am going to show you tonight how to create this beautiful pine cone. I'm super excited about this, though.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. There are no wires at all in this. This is 100% technically edible. Don't know if you'd really want to eat it, but we'll get into that. But I have used lots of different techniques, and so I've got a lot to show you. So I'm just going to jump in. But what you'll notice is we've got the pine needles put together on a branch, and then the pine cone with this beautiful shimmery snowy look. And I used to do the snow with that yucky white paste gel that's basically just titanium dioxide. And I don't really like that. I mean, I guess it could have its place, but I didn't really like it. And I also felt like it didn't really give me the results I wanted. So I will show you this, but this, we're going to do the snow on here is made up of two amazing products from Icing Images, one of which is wafer paper. And the second is I got to use for the first time today, actually, Susan Trianos's Fluff and Stuff. So I made some royal icing and I combined it with my wafer paper snow. So I'm going to just jump right in and start showing you all the different steps to get to this. So the very first thing we're going to do is talk about our wafer paper snow. And coincidentally, I just was scrolling on Instagram today and I saw on Sydney's Instagram on Simi Cakes, she does the same thing, uses the wafer paper to make snow. So what's really cool is I feel like it really legit, it looks so beautiful. It looks just like snow. There's a couple different ways you can do it as far as getting the shimmery. You can either add this one I added luster dust because I was out of my sanding sugar in just the white, but it just gives it a shimmery. But literally, you guys, okay, talking about profitability, one of the ways you can cut your costs down, I don't waste anything. So these are just scrap pieces of the Icing Images premium wafer paper. I keep even I'm telling you, even if it's a piece this big, I keep it because I can use it for making edible glue. If you just mix it with a little bit of like Tylose and a little water, you can make snow, which is what we're going to do right now. So all I'm going to do is this is just a coffee bean grinder. I think sometimes you can get just like an herb grinder, but that's all this is. It's just a coffee bean grinder, but I use it for this instead. So all I'm going to do is just rip up some pieces of these scraps of wafer paper, stick it in my little coffee grinder, and might as well just do it all. I don't think I really have to rip it too little because the blades, they move really fast. I know some people are probably going to ask, do you have to use a coffee grinder? It's my preferred method. I have a little Ninja brand blender thingy that has a single serve cup with just a small blade. I think you could do that, but I feel like the coffee grinder, because the blades are fairly sharp and they move like ridiculously fast, I feel like this is probably the most efficient way. And these honestly aren't that expensive, and I also use this when I make edible glitter with gelatin. So it's, I don't know, you could probably get one of these on Amazon for less than, I don't know, 20 bucks ish. It's just a really simple one. But all I'm going to do is I ripped it up, and I'm going to get noisy for a minute here. And if I wanted some pieces that were a little bigger, I just wouldn't blend it for as long. But let me just take a look and see if I like it. Perfect. I mean, look at that. So now this one doesn't have any shimmery to it, but this one does. I don't know if you can see in this light or not, but I'm just going to dump this into my mixture that has the luster dust and mix it up a little bit. If I felt like I wanted to add a little more luster dust, I could. And this, you know, it keeps a really long time. So I could use this, you know, I know it's winter time now, but I could keep it. And anytime I want like a snowy cake or cookies, I saw somebody on Instagram put it on wet royal and make it look like a nice snow look. But isn't that pretty? I just really like that. So boom, easy. That's it. Edible snow. So we got that part. That's step one. So I'll move that aside. And then, okay, now the next part, we're going to start working on the needles. This part's really fun. I want to know, can anybody guess what the needles are before I reveal? What are they made of?
Let's see. There's a delay, so we got to wait for people.
Okay.
And I would say, for me, I would say it's either wafer or smart, but that's my guess. And I'm sure I'm wrong.
Okay. See
Give me just a second. Come on. There we go. Let's see. Cello sheet, Stacy guessed.
Okay.
Becky, different color dust in it for, oh, she's talking about the, you can put the different color dust in it for Easter and Halloween to make your snow.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Becky says smart sheets.
Okay.
Jesse says yes. I'm not sure which question. Jesse says wafer paper. Kate Wepner says floral tape. I think she's talking about the little pine needles, or are you talking about the actual stem?
I'm talking about the pine needles, the
That's what I
needle
thought.
themselves.
Yeah. All right. Any other guesses? Let's see. Wait, we got another one coming in. I can see it over here. It looks like a real rosemary stick to me. All right.
Oh, okay. Are you guys ready for the big reveal?
Let's go.
This is a technique I saw from Shauna McGreevy. I modified it a little bit. Dun, dun, dun. Whole wheat pasta.
Aha.
Aha. Right? Okay. I do
Wow.
a method where I do make edible pine needles using like cake lace on a mat that I got from Sugarvale, but it takes a really long time. They're beautiful. The thing I like about that method is that they're soft, like you can touch them and like a real pine needle. These are, since they're uncooked spaghetti noodles, they're stiff, but you know what? They look really real. So I'm going to show you. So this was her Shauna McGreevy of is it Cake Heads? I think is her channel. But all she did, these are whole grain thin spaghetti noodles. I think if you used regular spaghetti, they'd be a little bit too thick, and angel hair would be just way too thin. I'm assuming she recommends whole grain because they're a little heartier, stiffer, maybe. But all she did was she took them and stuck them on a parchment. I'm using airbrush color. I'm just using plain green. I'm not worrying about trying to get like a juniper green or anything. On her video, she had juniper green first and it came out way too dark. So she just used regular green, but it's super easy. You just dump your airbrush color on parchment and we're literally just gonna just do this and color them up. They just soak it up. The reason I'm using airbrush color is because it dries faster than like gel. And see, so now I've already got a nice green piece of spaghetti. Okay, So that's step one, is just to color it. I colored a whole bunch when I did the cake that I had in the promo shots that were on the, advertising the live. But that's step one. And then you let it dry. So I have some that are already dried that I'm going to bring up here. And so when they're dry, then I can handle them without, see, I knew I was going to get green. But these have been dry for, these have been dry for like about a week. But honestly, I think when I did the original cake, it only took, I don't know, maybe half hour to dry totally, or even less. But I'm in Colorado. We're extremely dry here. We do not have high humidity. So just kind of depends. But so what she did on her video was, this was kind of step one. And then she, instead of having them in branch form, she was making some pine cones, and she just snapped them, and then she poked them into the cake into like little clusters so that they would, look like kind of pine needles. But I was doing the cake and I really wanted to have some branches. I did poke some directly in just for time's sake, but I thought, well, I did a live a while back. It was a couple years ago, maybe, where I took the wafer paper and dipped it and then heated it in the oven, and it made the twigs that are stiff. And I know Jessie Ann did some variations of that. So I was just kind of thinking about that technique and how I might be able to make it in a branch form. So what I ended up doing was, these are straight, right? But you can see on my little finished product how they're bent a little bit. So what I did to bend them was, I have this little heat gun. Again, you can pick these up at any craft store. It's meant for, I believe it's meant for the embossing stamps with the powdery stuff, and you heat it up and then it hardens, and anyway, I use this thing all the time in my cake studio just for all kinds of different reasons. But what I did was, I just heated the end a little bit, and this is what they are going to look like before we kind of bundle them together. So I wanted to get just a little bent, but I didn't want to add water or anything because I didn't want the color to go away, and I didn't know what that would do. So I literally this was an experiment, and it ended up working. So I have my little heat gun. So all I'm going to do is snap a piece about this long. This is maybe 3.5 inches or so. I'm going to turn my heat gun on. I'm going to hold where I want the bend to be, kind of in the center of where the heat's going to come out. And I'm going to have my finger on the other side, and I'm just going to add a really gentle pressure on the tip as it heats, just to give it a little bend. And then I'm going to stop. If you go too fast and too hard, it just snaps. But I think I found a good pressure. So this is going to be just a smidge noisy for a second, but I'm going to turn the heat gun on. And it's just right in front of there. And all I'm going to do is just slowly bend and set it aside. You got to be careful not to burn yourself.
That's so cool.
So that's how I bent them. And then they stay that way. And so that was, let's see, step 1 and step 2 of the pine needles. So now the next part is that we want to get these into little bundles together. So here's what I'm going to use. I don't remember, and Deb, you can correct me or remind me if Jessie Ann did this. I'm calling it edible floral tape, but I'm not sure if she did it too.
Did do some, yep.
She did. So I'm going to set these aside here. This is just a dish that I've got some super cheap vodka and
Mhm.
some drops of brown airbrush color. And that's my mix that is going to make my edible floral tape. So this is just a strip of the Icing Images premium icing or wafer paper. And again, that's just vodka. There's no water or anything, just vodka and some coloring. I'm just going to soak these and just kind of get them wet with the vodka. Okay. And then I have to let this sit for just a little bit. And what's going to happen is it's going to start to get kind of rubbery or stretchy a little bit. And while that's sitting there, I'm just going to take my needles here. And what I discovered was the best way to do it was to take 3 of these together. So I've got 3 arranged. And then what I'm going to do, I bet this has been sitting long enough. Now, can you see how, I want to show you this, how it gets stretchy.
Oh, wow. Just
And
with straight vodka.
straight vodka. Yep. So it gets stretchy and kind of gooey. And so then what I do is I put my 3 needles together and then I'm just going to start wrapping it like you would floral tape on, floral wire if you were doing gum paste flowers. I just want it to attach together. I'm not going to wrap it all the way down because what I'm going to do is make a few bundles of 3 and then we put those together to give it a little more fullness. But what I've also discovered while I was playing around with this is if I then take this and use my heat gun again and just warm this while it's still gooey. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. It starts to kind of puff up like it did when I did that other live with the thingies, but the thingies, that's a technical
Mhm.
twigs. If I warm it up and then I can just kind of pinch it, then I can put it in place. And it, for some reason, that added element of the heat just really helps it stick, I guess. So now I've got one bundle and then I'll just do another one. And we're just going to do a few of these because I have a lot more to show you guys.
So just we got Jalen wants to know if it's flexible when it dries.
No, it's stiff, very stiff.
Okay, which
Stiff
makes
when,
sense.
yep. Yeah.
And she said, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the vodka just really dries it out.
Yeah, that's what I figured. And I'm not sure if you're meant to say, Jennifer, why can't it be done with icing sheets? I think that's what you might be saying. I'm not sure, but it's those would be too thick, I think. It may work. You can try it, and it may work with the thin icing sheets. I don't know if someone's tried that before or not.
Yeah. For the floral tape part or for the needle part, I'm wondering.
I think she's talking about the floral tape.
Yeah. I've never tried it. So if I know Jessie Ann, she's either already tried it or she's gonna.
Or she's doing it right now as we
She's
speak.
literally right now doing it. Could you imagine if Jessie Ann and I got together? We'd be dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So I'm just kind of smushing these. I'm going to warm this one a little bit. And I didn't worry if it was like kind of ugly looking because, there's more steps to it and it's going to be pretty at the end. Okay. All right. So I've got three 3 of 3. So I've got 9 total. So for the sake of time, I am actually just going to put those together. So I need more of my floral tape. So I'm going to dip a little bit. I'm just doing this off screen here, dipping a little more in my vodka mixture. I got to let that sit for a minute. And then my plan is to take these 3 and put them together so that we have the beginning of like the end of a branch. Hopefully you can see that.
Beautiful. Now, Jessie Ann did add that if you add gelatin and glycerin to the vodka and then add the wafer, it will stay flexible. And she had done that for a live for us a while back.
Oh, all right. Nice. Good to know.
If you need it to stay that way.
Yeah, if you wanted it. Okay, so now I'm just going to take my 3 bundles that I just made, and I'm going to use my edible floral wafer tape, and I'm just going to start wrapping it just like I would. And as I said, it's a little gooey and kind of messy, but that's okay. And then, so you can see it looks pretty rough, but now I'm going to turn my little heat gun on again. Okay, and then while it's still warm, I'm just kind of pinching it to make it swoosh together. And so then you see now we've got the beginnings of a branch. Okay, and so then how I would continue this is I would do the same thing. Then I'd do another 3 bundles of 3, and then those would go just below. And I just keep building it down. So I start at the end and work my way toward the origin of the branch, if that makes sense. So that's the steps to at least get them together. And so this one, again, I did, 2 twigs and then wrapped them together. And then we did the snow finish, which I'll show you how to do. But we're going to take a quick break from the pine needles, and now I want to show you the pine cone. So this is the finished product. Okay. And can anyone guess? I love these guessing games. Does anyone know what the little individual, what do you call them? Petals of a cone? What do you call these
I
things?
think they're considered leaves. I know Stacey's gonna know. So I'm not even gonna try. He'll have a story behind it too, and of who invented it or something.
Yeah. Whatever. But I can, while you all are thinking about what those leaves or petals or whatever the heck you call them, the center, I've seen a couple different things on YouTube, but I'm using, this is cake pop dough, and this is a spice cake, which is a nice wintry flavor, but it's just my regular spice cake with a little bit of buttercream. And so all I do for the center is I just roll it into a ball, and then I'm going to just roll it literally into a cone, pine cone, right? Also, kind of looks like what you would do for the center of a gum paste rose, but there we go. So that's our center. So now I'm ready to add those petals.
They're called cone scales.
Cone scale?
Sometimes called petals or wings.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so my cone scales are, I don't know if anybody has any guesses, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to reveal it. It is cereal. So I'm all about using creativity and using things to help speed up my progress. I have done several different techniques of like edible pine cones. I have some of the make your own, the food grade, make your own mold, where I've actually like taken real pine cones and tried to make molds. I've had hit or miss results with it. I've found they just, I don't know, they didn't look great. I've also tried individually making the scales out of like modeling chocolate, super time consuming. So I don't know. I found a video online that showed using the cereal that I could not find it here. I think it might be a European thing, but I was like, well, I thought cornflakes or honey bunches of oats. So that's what we're going to do. So I make the cone easy. Now this one, I'm going to start from at the bottom and work my way up to the top. And all I'm going to do, I didn't even really need to do anything to make these stick. I just kind of poked them into the cake pop dough, and you just work your way around. So I'm just grabbing ones that are bigger for the bottom, and then as I get closer to the top, I'll make them a little smaller. But the thing I liked about the cereal is they're kind of rough looking anyway. And I don't know, to me it seems a little more organic, you know? Like, yeah. I mean, they don't look exactly like it, but once we put all the finishing touches on, I think it looks pretty good and you can eat it. So, so I just kind of keep working my way up. And then, much like when you're building flowers, so I have my first row done. Now I'm going to put the next row um, in between two of the little scales. So now I'm going to start this one so that it's offset.
Susan Triano's bought Cocoa Pebbles and used those. Those are a bit smaller, I think, aren't they?
I'm not sure. I've
Yeah.
actually never bought Cocoa Pebbles,
Oh my
but
God. Fruity Pebbles is the best, and you let the milk sit in the milk and then drink the milk. It's
oh,
amazing.
oh, oh, and hi, Susan. I'm so glad you're here. I was commenting on one of her posts earlier today. Um, yeah, so we just work our way up. It's a pretty quick process, really. I mean, way quicker than making each one out of modeling chocolate and then,
Well, it looks good.
and yeah. So I just keep going, keep going, keep going until I get to the top. And then once I've gotten to the top, I'll show you. I'm going to try to just get it as close as I can. I have another one that is ready to go. Yeah, the videos I've seen, they used like a chocolate cereal because then they're already like kind of closer to a brown. But I kind of feel like pine cones aren't super brown. I feel like they're more like a brownish hue with kind of a yellow undertone. Like they're not super dark. And that's part of the reason why when I've made them out of modeling chocolate and I've used like chocolate instead of like a white chocolate and try to color it, I felt sometimes like they're too dark and they just don't, I don't know. They just didn't do it for me. So, um, anyway, all right. So we're getting close to the top here, but I just kind of finish it off with a few in the center. And then because my cake pop dough is soft, I can kind of squeeze them a little. And so then what I usually do then is like I'll take a look and I'm like, okay, where do I have some holes that I need to fill in? And then you can just kind of do that as you go, fill it in. But that's kind of in a nutshell without taking too much time. But that's kind of what it looks like in this phase, which I think is still pretty good. So then what I did was I took my airbrush and I mixed a little bit of yellow airbrush color, just plain classic yellow with my brown. And it was probably like 9 parts brown, 1 part yellow, if you wanted a ratio. I did just a little bit of yellow just to take that full dark coat out of it. And so after I airbrush it, this is what it looks like.
Nice.
And I feel like that's a nice pine cone color. So once it's airbrushed, it'll cover up like the color of whatever cake pop dough you want to use. So if you don't want to use a brownish color like a spice cake, I see no reason why you couldn't if you've got an airbrush. But so that's the pine cone, fully edible. And when I attached it to my cake, I just did it was a buttercream cake, and I just did a squirt of some Swiss meringue buttercream and pushed it on there, and it held just fine. So we've got our pine cone, and we've got the beginning of a little pine needle branch. But for time's sake, I won't keep going with that. But so now you've got a cone and some needles. The next step is now to make it snow. So what I did on the cake, because I didn't have any of Susan's fluff and stuff yet, is I just lightly brushed some piping gel onto the little scales, and then I just literally just sprinkled my snow onto it, and it looked nice. It really did. But I really love this because, first of all, I was amazed at how white it comes out, and it was just like the consistency was beautiful, and also it tastes really good. I did lick the bowl. It wasn't for a customer, so it's okay. but but anyway, so I've got somewhere in this area. Yeah. So I used Susan's fluff and stuff to make a batch of royal. So this is how this was following her recipe on the bag exactly. So it's a pretty stiff royal. So what I did for this pine cone was I thinned it down, and I've got it in a little piping bag, and then I used that in a thinned form just to put just a little bit, just not all over the place, but I wanted it to be really festive and make it look like it had just snowed a lot. So I've got the thinned royal. Let me see if I can show you roughly. So it's about like that. I don't do cookies, you guys, with royal, so I don't know the proper terminology for the how runny and all that it is, but I could tell you that it was to the point where when I dripped it, it completely like went into a solid, if that makes sense. I don't know how to describe it, but isn't there something with timing on like how many seconds it takes for the royal to completely go smooth? I don't know.
I think that's what it is. They'll let us know in just a second.
All the cookie people can tell me. But yeah, so literally, if I just want to make this snow, I've got a number, I think this is a number 4, no, a number 3 tip. So that at first I had a number 4 tip, and it came out a little bit too much. So I put a smaller one. So I'm just gonna just gently kind of do a few bits here and there, just kind of random. And then this will dry and hold the snow so it doesn't go everywhere, which is also nice. And I will say that I'm feeling very motivated to start working with Royal, just for my own knowledge, because I've never really delved into it, and I love this fluff and stuff. Is awesome. So now we've got some snow on there, And now I'm just going to make it shimmer, and this will just stick. It'll stick to the wet royal, and then it'll also kind of fall into some of the little crevices in the between the scales. And isn't that beautiful?
Oh yeah, gorgeous.
And you really,
Wow.
you cannot tell that that's cereal. I think it turned out great. And then for my, if I want to add snow to my branch, the little twig I got going on here, what I did a combination. So on this one, I used a little bit of piping gel and just did piping gel with some of the wafer paper snow first. And then I went over just a few of the tips and some of the twig with the fluff and stuff and a little extra just to give it a little, I feel like the snow in nature isn't going to stick as much to the little needles. It's almost more like little crystals of frost or something, but it would stick on the branches. So that was my reasoning for we'll do a little piping gel and some of the shimmery snow on our needles. And then it just, I don't know if you can see, but it's just like a little bit. But then if I wanted to add a little fluff and stuff in some spots, maybe just on a few of the tips, just for funsies. Plus, ooh, I'm all about covering up mistakes. So here's a spot where I didn't get my floral tape all around. So guess what? Some fluff and stuff's gonna go there.